Mm-hmm. 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 Sit on. It's time to drag your kingdom down. All glory. Sit on. It's time to drag your kingdom down. You've been building up that old kingdom, Lord, all over this land. I'm telling you, Satan, it's time to drag your kingdom down. I live for hallelujah, Satan. Hey, people, I got bad news. Greenleaf has only got 8 episodes in this season. Apparently, this is what they were able to film before Corona hit. So we're on episode 6, and there's only 8 episodes. So we only got 2 more episodes, right? So I guess they had enough time to work on that last one to wrap it up the end of the show. Sad news. So we're going to talk today about episode 6, season 5. It opens up, Bishop is on the phone. He's angry. He's talking to the FBI. And he is hot because Rochelle Cross is still roaming around Memphis. Now, I don't remember the story about what happened with her or how the FBI got involved with her. But the FBI said they no longer have an interest in Miss Rochelle Cross. And she's free to roam wherever she wants to roam. He's hot. Thank you for nothing. Right? Mm-hmm. Next thing we see that Darius calls Grace at the end of this while he is hot with the FBI. She's in her room. She gets a call. The call is from Darius, the reporter, right? He says his room in Vegas has been broken into and they have stolen both his laptop and his phone. Why this man is walking around without his phone, I don't know. But now he's on a different phone, right? So Bob, what's his last name? They are really serious about stopping this guy from reporting this story, right? Bob Whitworth wants to run for senator, the Senate. So he's on his way back home. He asked Grace for files that she has in her computer, right? Because apparently he had sent copies to her. Now, the sad part about this whole situation is neither of them thought to print out this information. All the information is on the computer, right? And so when she goes to pull up the information, we all see it disappearing right before our eyes. Whatever kind of program they have, they can make a file disappear, I guess, across the internet. So her files are completely erased. Next thing we see is Phil's father shows up at the gate at the Greenleaf Mansion. Right? So he's there. He's going to meet with the family while they're trying to convince him to tell the story of the importance of this company. What's the company called? His mortgage company. Eatonville Lending. Right? And he surprisingly agrees to tell them suddenly about what happened with Eatonville. Apparently, Eatonville was a predatory lender. Bob Whitworth owned this company, and they were tricking these poor black families out of their homes when they're in dire need for a loan. They would give them these predatory loans, and knowing they couldn't pay them back under the terms of the contract, and then they would take their properties, right? So Phil's wife, Phil's mother which would be this guy's, what's his name? Yusef. Yusef's wife was the black person they put in charge of tricking these black people to thinking that this was a good deal, right? And we've heard about things like that happen in churches before, where churches have actually got involved in people and their money, and it was just ripoffs. So she was the middle person, and she was getting these black people to take these loans that they couldn't possibly pay back, and losing their homes. Right? Okay, but Phil has to be off the record. He can't, because of his situation with the police, he was ex-Black Panther, and he is still officially on the run, in as much as he's been hiding all these years. He can't take a chance of getting involved in anything legal. Now, Miss Zora. Miss Zora is the guy, this girl. Zora has made plans. She's already just recently. The frustrating thing is all this is supposed to take place in a week. Since we started this thing, this whole season is supposed to take place in about a week. So she just found out, I guess the day before, that her parents are divorcing, and now she's made her own plans. She's bought a ticket to New York City to try out for some acting thing, but she has no idea where she's going to live. She's going to figure out when she get, girl, that's not the way you go into New York City. That ain't the way you do it. Zora is there at her cottage. She stumbles onto this information on the girl's phone about her trip. Zora immediately goes and tells her parents, Clarissa and Jacob, about their daughter's plan. So the parents, now they intervene, of course, because this is a dumbass idea. Of all the places you want to go as an 18-year-old girl, by yourself, with no plans where you're going to live, New York is the very last place she should be going on her own. Anyway, the father talks her down. I mean, Clarissa is just mad. She was telling you ain't going to New York, honey. Sit down. But Jacob says, well, we do have some relatives on Clarissa's side. Maybe we can work this out. Can you cancel the ticket? So she has decided to slow her roll. And Jacob wants to do, if they do anything at all, something reasonable that makes sense. Like her moving in with the relative in very near New York City. Okay. She agrees to it. Later on, to get even with Sophia for telling, she tells Grace about these pictures that are floating around the internet, which are upsetting Sophia, because Grace don't know what's upsetting her, right? So we don't get that scene. They don't show us a scene where Grace has got this information, or how she reacts to it. Basically, she showed a breast online, whatever. But so now they're even. Okay. We already talked about Darius meeting with Phil's father, the father explaining everything and all that. Darius was also in the room with the two girls. Okay. All right, we see that Darius now is interested in Grace again. Apparently they had broken up for a while or something. They were on good terms, but they were not serious about each other. And so he says, when this thing is all over, we need to talk about us. So now here's the thing. They're hinting Darius as being her love interest, but at the same time, her and what's the guy? Her and Noah are hinting that they might get, their relationship may go in a different direction, right? So she's got two love interests, right? So pay attention to that. Because remember now, we only got 2 episodes left. So we have to see who Grace is going to end up with. Father of her child or Darius. Miss May, Lady May, she done got, why did that boy even bring this up? See, This all started because Jacob took his ass down there to that woman's place and told her about some will and about the house could be theirs. And he started all this mess. And for what reason? We still don't have a reason. We don't have no damn reason at all. He didn't take it to his family. He take it to a complete stranger. And then they got all these problems about this damn house, which should not be used for a homeless shelter, I don't think. I can't see the homeless people coming out. Anyway, let me stop. Some parts of this storylines are irritating to me. Why would you give somebody else your house? If they don't have no legal right to it, why would you even consider it? Anyway. Maiden called the girl over, Tara over, for another discussion. And May has made it clear that this is my house. And the girl, Tara, she said, oh, looking around at this place, oh, this would be great for the homeless people. So Tara said that this would be a great place for the homeless people. So Tara is waiting to hear from God. And so Lady May, they're all waiting to hear from God. So if they get an epiphany or a thought, they're going to credit that to God spoke. But God doesn't seem to be saying the same thing to all three of them. May, Bishop, and her. And of course, Rochelle. They all hearing different things from God. Right? So it's not clear what condition, where these people stand. Tara seems to have respect for Lady May. I don't know if she's ever been a part of her church or just heard about her and know about her. She seems to be respectful, but her inserting herself about this house doesn't make any sense to me. That's something that Rochelle has cooked up. Anyway, so Bishop is at the bar now. Now the bar is owned by, or was owned by, Oprah Winfrey, Mavis, the girl who plays Mavis. Mavis has moved out of town and left the building to Grace, right? Grace is giving the building to the church, the new church they're building. So Bishop is in the church, I guess it'll be a storefront. He's kind of old to be starting. Okay, so they're going to start the new church in the bar, right? He is meeting with people who are in charge of these permits for changing this building into a church. I mean, basically, they got to gut the building, turn it into a church, right? He didn't want to fully gut the building. He thought he had a history, but the history is of jazz blues singers. May says, rip it all out. So they're just taking the shell and start a new church. While he's there with the permit guy, Rochelle shows up. Ooh, she's looking sinister. Satan! We got the Greg. That kingdom down. She looked just like the devil. Something about this actress can contort her face and make it look evil. She does. The way she curls around her words. I mean, remember now, at one point she seduced this dude. So she is like a demon unto him. She shows up. And he is hot when she shows up. What do you want here? She shows up and says that, listen here. It appears that you have no favor. You're an old man. You done lost your church. You done lost your house. You done lost everything. And you started a church in a juke joint. Doesn't look like a man in God's favor. Right? So, Bishop is having a Job moment, you might say. Surprised they made no reference to Job, because Job is the one in the Bible who loses everything, meaning everything, and still trusts God. She's there. He eventually puts her out. She still believes that he caused her father's death, this vendetta. There's a good chance that all this was orchestrated by Matt, who we already know is a person of low character and a child molester, who Gigi had to kill. Okay. Her last statement to him was, Basie should have killed you when he had a chance. All glory. Holy people. She came in the name of God as well. Everybody, there's only one, honey. Everybody seems to be tugging at his coattails. All right. Noah and Grace. Noah commits to finding this guy, this caretaker, who thought he was going to inherit the house, who was referring to this this Negro that keeps showing up. I'm willing to bet that that Negro is actually James. Maybe James was having an affair with this old lady, and he's got a secret, or maybe he was just ministering to her. But later on, we see an argument between him and Lady May, right? And the question is, why did this white woman leave them that house? She was not a member of their church. She did not know them. As far as May is concerned, he only met with her when Matt arranged a meeting between them. So he didn't know the woman at all. First question was, why would she leave it to this handyman from the church, Mr. James? Why would she leave it, all of her possession, hundreds of acres, he says. So I guess it's a lot bigger than I thought it was. Hundreds of acres to this guy who is the maintenance man at the church. And then May asked, why would she leave it to us? We didn't know her either. She never even came to the church. I never saw her. Good questions, Lady May. I'm guessing that the Negro is Bishop. But we'll see. They only got 2 episodes to pull it together, so we got to see what's going to happen. So Noah says he's going to find this handyman and they get this thing straight. There's no reason to get it straight. They had the proper will that was current and valid. Other people had no claim on the house. Why make this big old story out of nothing? I don't get it. Miss Tara coming there talking about this would be a good homeless shelter. Honey, she ain't got no legal right to it, so why even bring her into the story? Noah says, talking to Grace, that he has found an apartment now for him and AJ. AJ's attitude is much better. In the last couple of episodes, we were kind of calming down on AJ because he's starting to make sense as a person. So they take him to the hospital. He's getting his medication. He's finding out all you got to do is take 1 pill a day. Testimony. And he's being cooperative. He's excited about this this project that with Bishop putting his car together, right? So they're at the hospital with him. Grace would wish that he would come to her, but no, he's still sticking to his father, and they're having a bonding time. But Noah tells Grace that if this whole thing falls apart and the family has to move out of the mansion, she's welcome to come there and live with them. That's what I mean about her having 2 possible love interests. She's slowly softening to Noah now. She had resentments about the way they broke up, him married another woman and all that. But she's slowly starting to soften to him. So I guess we'll find out in the last episode, which is only 2 episodes away, who she's going to be with. Okay. Next thing we see, while Bishop and May are having a heated discussion, he tells her it's time for her to come clean with the family and stop being a hypocrite, judging everyone else's lives and all their affairs and so forth, because she's always got her feet in other people's infidelities and such. But you've been carrying the secret for, 30-something years, however old Grace is. I guess the affair could have started before she actually got pregnant. So 30-something years she's been carrying the secret, right? He walks out on her. So James tells her that. Then he walks out of the room. Phil meets, Charity, Grace, Phil's father go to the church, which is now about to be torn down. It's all taking place in a week. They still ain't torn it down. But all the furniture's out of the church now. They're going through some boxes of files. His father shows up. Apparently, Phil hates his father. So his father tells him about the situation with his mother and how Bob Woodward used his mother to trick all these black people out of their homes, acquire all this land. Phil is not receptive. Phil is still angry with his father. He's saying, while my mother was out there working with Bob, where were you? Sitting at home, doing crossword puzzles, some shit, watching TV. You did nothing. I saw my mom, and you sit there eating the food that my mother worked for. So he is stuck on that. But it looks like his mother's job wasn't all that cool. She was working with Bob Woodward. Now, I don't know how this woman died. Did she die of natural causes? I don't know. It would be terrible to find out that Bob then got her killed because she was the direct witness. Anyway, Phil don't want to hear it. He says he picks up the phone. I'm going to call the FBI because they're looking for you still after all these years, honey. Charity stops him, but Phil says, I don't want to ever see you again. That's where they left it. Clarissa, at the beginning of the episode, Clarissa said that you will never get joint custody because that's what Jacob wants. She wants Jacob. She doesn't want the marriage to end. But Jacob says, I deserve full partial custody, joint custody, right? She said, you'll never get it. She's still trying to fight back. That ain't the way to get to a man's heart, honey. Anyway, she eventually softens. She says, you can have joint custody. Right? They've already agreed, though, she's leaving. They're through. So after that little discussion, they're all gathered now for Clarissa to leave the mansion. She's always lived there since the marriage started. There was a time they moved out and got their own place when Jacob was starting another church, which she considered to be a dump. But basically, they've always lived in that house. And now they're all gathered to say goodbye to Miss Clarissa. She gets in a cab. I guess she's going to stay with her mother or something like that. They gathered. What happened when they gathered on the steps? Oh, yeah. Then May makes her big announcement. So she's taking Bishop's dare to heart. And it says, well, everybody's gathered on the steps saying goodbye to Clarissa. When the cab pulls off, then Charity's car pulls up. They're all together, and she tells the whole family about her affair with, what's the guy's name? I forget his name, but Grace's father. Right? She makes her announcement. She tells about that Bishop is not her actual father. And she turns and leaves. Announces what time dinner is and turns and leaves, right? Later on, we see the three siblings getting together. They're drinking. Jacob's drinking out the bottle. Charity's drunk. Grace seems to have her wits, but they're all drinking, right? So, one of the things they said, well, that explains why you're so light. Because most of the family is dark-skinned. And Lady Mae, she's probably about my color, which is like medium kind of thing. But no one else is light in the family. This would explain it, right? She's light, and so is Aaron, her brother. Okay. They're not all that sugaring up about it, though. They should have figured it out because Grace got all these millions and millions of dollars. She keeps billing everybody out. Although Bishop seems perfectly willing to spend all of her money. So, let me see. Okay, Darius calls and says, Darius calls Grace and says, we got him. Very dramatically. They're on the phone, and Darius says that we found a family. I found a family who lost their home to Bob Woodward and is willing to testify, right? He said, I need to meet with you now. So we're going to meet back at his house. He got a beautiful house. Lovely little bachelor pad. Anyway, when she gets there, there's no one at the house. He's not there. She calls. He doesn't answer his phone. Darius is missing. She's in the park. She's in his driveway at night, and this other car pulls up, and the other car is that man that Clarissa screwed, the Italian, who is the attorney for Bob Whitworth. He gets out and he warns her. He warns her to stay out of it. Very dramatically, drives off. So in other words, Darius is missing. That's what we get. We don't know. But he told her, you can be missing as well. Stay out of it, is what he says. And that's pretty much where we left it. Okay, people, we're getting close here. Only 8 episodes, unfortunately, because of Corona. Usually you would get something like 13. But we'll pick it up next week. I'm so sorry to see this series go. Later, people.